Start out with the Ropen view from Kun sketch. Well, you should be live now, so welcome. Good to have you here. We're starting here at 4:30 in the afternoon, Utah time, which is Mountain Time in the United States, May 21st, 2021. The title is YouTube Pterodactyl Video Success. Basically, we've had some really incredible improvements in the videos on this channel, which is Protect Animal Life. Oh, I don't have it up here. Sorry, this is the name of the channel, except right here, Protect Animal Life. Don't have any other information except what's on the screen here. But glad you're here. And when things get started a little later, we'll have people on the chat. It takes a while to get that going. First of all, we'll just go into what this is about. Living pterosaurs, in particular Ropens, long-tailed, featherless, large flying creatures in modern times, what people used to call dragons a long time ago. And some people still call them dragons. The lady in California a few years ago said she was a dragon pterodactyl in her backyard, and I went there to that same backyard and did some research, asked her some questions. Face-to-face interview. I love face-to-face interviews. I don't usually get to do that. Usually it's by email. At that time, she called it a dragon pterodactyl, but basically it's a Ropen. Now, what is this about today? Is in the last 10 days, there's been incredible successes with the growth of a few, like about 5 videos on my channel, Protect Animal Life. And there's this video that here, Pterodactyl Attack. We'll get into what that's about. That video was just a couple weeks ago, getting maybe 8, 10, as I recall, 10 views a day. Then now yesterday, a 24-hour period, has had over 1,200 views, way over 1,000 views. It's just really, things are taking off here. Finally, after more than 2 years of being on YouTube and this channel, the YouTube algorithm, the computer system that YouTube uses to make decisions, it finally figured out what kind of people really like my videos, and in particular it found my best videos and really pushed them to the public all over the world all of a sudden. So we're having huge success with YouTube. Just early this morning I passed the 1,000 mark for subscribers. Guess who we thank for that? Probably you. A lot of you are the watching. I thank you, because we have 1,000 subscribers. Some of you are subscribers. Now, I don't want you to subscribe just for me to get monetized on YouTube and get paid, which I was working for 2 years without getting a penny. But I just want you to be happy with my videos. And if you're not, then don't subscribe, because I don't want you to do that. It doesn't really help my channel if you subscribe and then don't watch the videos. What helps is subscribing and then watching videos if you like, whatever you like, and looking around at the, we have how many? 148 videos right now. Most of them are not live streams like this. They're regular uploads. So we'll eventually be getting a chat here. Again, the title is YouTube Pterodactyl Videos Success, May 21st, 2021. I'm Jonathan Whitcomb here in Murray, Utah. What is this about? Pterodactyl Attack. This video, let's see, how many minutes is it? It's at least 6 minutes, possibly 8, but it's not a live stream. It's a regular production for YouTube and upload. It's about this man. I never met the man personally, and I never met the family. On my expedition in Papua New Guinea in the Southwest Pacific in the year 2004, what we call one of the Ropen expeditions. That was quite a few miles south of this area where this attack took place, and this fisherman was attacked. Not this identical fisherman here. I'm sorry, this identical fisherman here. No, it was, this is just representing. It's a native of Papua New Guinea on a boat. But it was, we don't have photographs of him, but this is just generic to represent that man. He was out at night fishing, and he was attacked by what the natives in that area call the Kor, K-O-R. And we have other videos on that, especially this particular video, Pterodactyl Attack. This is the best one, actually. I'd recommend just go to it and get the whole story, everything. But basically, he was fishing in the core, which we believe is related, if not the same species as the Ropen on the Umboy Island, where I went on my expedition searching for these flying creatures. The core attacked him and destroyed his canoe or boat, whatever is what the report is. Now, this is not a direct account that I have. I really love direct accounts where an eyewitness from somewhere in the world will contact me, or I'll go visit wherever they are and interview the person who saw the flying creature face to face and get the words of that person, the eyewitness. I love that kind because that's direct with the words that I have. If, assuming I record them correctly and don't make mistakes, but I usually don't make that many mistakes. But it's direct report. This is not at all direct. This could have been back in the 1960s. Could have been third hand, fourth hand, even fifth hand account. I don't know how many persons have relayed this information before it finally got to this young man who was a native in Papua New Guinea, and he contacted me and told him what he understands about what happened. But the man was attacked too, not just destroyed his canoe, but the flying creature attacked him. He fought back and tried to get to shore. The creature followed him. I think what happened, and this is my opinion, looking at the whole thing in context with what was happening about that time in the middle of the 20th century in this part of the Southwest Pacific, I think it was a territorial attack, a dispute between the animal and this native fisherman. And what happened was that the creature just attacked him because it felt it was a threat to his fishing there. Maybe the man accidentally got too close to where that flying creature was catching fish, and the animal thought it was being threatened in its territory and was defending its territory. Didn't care what it was, a human or animal or what it was. He just attacked the man. And finally, the man used his spear and was able to do some damage and eventually kill the animal. What I believe is either a Ropen or something very similar to that, closely related to that. A modern pterosaur, pterodactyl flying dinosaur bird, whatever you want to call it. Some people call it dragon. But unfortunately, the attack was so severe from the animal that the man was severely injured, and he was found by other natives who also saw the body, and they were eyewitnesses of the body of this core, K-O-R. And the natives took the man, tried to help him, but in a few days, I think it was maybe possibly 3 days or so, the man died, unfortunately. And that's what the video was about. So the next video, this is an extremely successful video, the Pterodactyl Attack. Yesterday it had over 1,200 views just in one day, and a couple of weeks ago it was on to get about 8 or 10 views a day. It's really kind of a mini viral video right now. Some of these I call micro virals or mini virals. It's not got millions of views. It's nothing like that kind of a viral success on YouTube, but it's certainly a huge explosion compared to what it was doing for many months. It's, this is almost 10 months old since I uploaded this video. And let's see we don't have any video. Hello, my good Sorrow. Thank you. This is Garrett Williams. And so I have trouble get the view here. Thank you. Thank you very much, Garrett, for joining us. Is this your first time? I don't recall your name offhand, but glad you're here. Very, very welcome. And please feel free to participate, ask questions, whatever you like, make comments. Just feel free. The other video, which is also successful, not that successful, but this is very successful, Pterodactyl Sightings. Much of this video, and by this way, this has a huge jump in views too. It was getting maybe 10 views a day for a while, a couple of weeks ago. Now it's gotten way over 100 views a day. Possibly this one might have 200 plus views per day in the last few days. But this one is about an eyewitness. You got to see the video. If you haven't seen it, don't miss this one. my friend and associate, who's so excited about these, he got involved. He had a sighting in western Minnesota. This is 2 years ago. It's not long ago. Very recent years. And it was in the daytime, clear view. He followed the creature, drove his car out away from Walmart, where he'd just been shopping. And noticed it was something weird that was flying about the same direction as his car, fairly low altitude, and it was gradually going down as it was gliding and flapping occasionally. And he said the flapping was weird. It was like, not bird flapping, it was like a swimming of a manta ray in the ocean. Really weird. And this is an incredible video, and it's actually, I interviewed him himself. Okay. Hello, do you know anyone? Is this case any close relative of yours that has seen a pterosaur? Close relative of yours that has seen a pterosaur? Well, in my family, we have, of the 5 of us, we have 3 who have possible sightings, not good sightings. My wife and myself and one daughter, over the few years, we've had each had at least once. I've had 3 bad sightings that could have been just none of them a pterosaur, but my wife has no doubt she saw a pterosaur flying far overhead over the Columbia River Gorge area between Oregon and Washington State. I was there too, actually. I was driving the car, and she didn't tell me till after we got to our destination and parked the car and then went in to visit relatives, and then she told me about it. For some reason, she doesn't want me to look. When she sees a pterosaur overhead or what she thinks is one, she doesn't want to tell me because, well, maybe we'll go off the side of the freeway and roll over into the Columbia River. So she's very conservative. Doesn't want to have those kind of things happen. So she didn't tell me anything till later. And then another daughter saw one in northern Utah a few years ago. But none of those sightings, I would say, were really good. I don't publicize them much, but have to say, well, it's possible. 3 out of 5 in our family had either a so-so or poor quality sighting. I'm not too sure about them. But I interview people from around the world. In the last 18 years, I've interviewed hundreds of eyewitnesses from 5 continents. Occasionally, I'm fortunate enough to get a face-to-face interview like I did with this young man, Jonathan, and I interviewed him in my living room right here in Murray, Utah. And you got to see this video if you haven't seen it yet. It's a wonderful young man. He has a family. He's a great sighting he had, but as he was going down, he saw the creature fly down, and it had a long tail, and he kept looking at it, kept checking it, and sure enough, he said that's definitely not legs held behind the flying creature, but it was a tail, and it had a structure at the end of the tail. And then it landed, and he couldn't find it. He got out of the car, but he couldn't find some trees in that area. So he drove off another way, a baseball diamond, and then it was a dead end, I think, and came back. And as he came back, he saw a second one. It wasn't as large as the first one, but it was the same species, no doubt. And the second one, he saw teeth. T-E-E-T-H teeth. Yes, that kind of teeth in the beak or mouth, whatever you call it, of the animal. Definitely not a bird. These things were not birds. So let's see if anybody wants to participate. We have Garrett again. I love your sightings, sir. Well, thank you. I don't call them my sightings. They're, I interview people, and it's their sightings. I just interview them. And I sometimes get information from some of my associates who do interviews and go on expeditions, and they have had good sightings. Like Garth Guessman, my associate, he's had some good sightings. But even better than that, some of them are like the biologist Peter Beach, my friend, and also my friend Milt Marcy, who was with him when they had a great sighting in Papua New Guinea, not where I was, but a bigger island than where I was. And Garrett says, also, how much did the biggest pterosaur weigh? Ooh, we never even attempt to try to drag them onto a scale to weigh them. They don't like that. No, I don't have no idea how much they weigh. We have estimates, of course, of wingspan. We have a lot of those, and I have other videos that explain about those estimates and what we can learn about them. And sometimes it's not so much about the literal precise size of the flying creature. We learn other things about the eyewitnesses when they make estimates. And that's interesting. We'll go over that again sometime. I don't have the image to show you on that shows the actual numbers on the eyewitness sighting estimates of the wingspan. But yeah, that's important. They are generally not this kind of animal from fossils. Generally, they're not so much heavy as they're just large and wingspan occasionally. And next cipher, I think you've been here before, haven't you? Next, thank you for coming back. Good morning, afternoon, and evening to all. Yeah, sometimes we get people from other part of the world, you know. What was it, 2 weeks ago? We had somebody visiting here from somewhere in the Southwest Pacific or the Southeast Asia. Can't remember now where it was, but it was not Papua New Guinea or Australia. Where was that? Not Singapore. I don't. It was one of those areas there, either Malaysia or someplace like that. Glad to have you. Where are you from, Nick? You're from the United States or another country? We have eyewitnesses from many countries. As I said, I've interviewed them indirectly or received reports, at least, from 5 continents. It would be Australia, North America, Africa, Europe, and not so many, but still some from Asia, but not as many from Asia. Let's see. Garrett's back here. It says, "It's okay, sir, don't worry. I've seen a video where a lady tells her story about seeing a pterosaur in Pennsylvania." Oh, great. Pennsylvania. Oh, wow. What is this? Nix is from Pennsylvania. Look at this. No, Garrett just mentioned, he says something about a video of a sighting in Pennsylvania, and then Nick says he's from Pennsylvania. Wow, is that destiny, or is this some just incredible coincidence? Maybe it's meant to be. So we talk about Pennsylvania. Unfortunately, the sightings there, I do have a number that people have given me, but they're not clear on the top of my head where I can just come up with them on the spur of the moment. But I do have a video that's specifically about sightings of apparent modern pterosaurs in Pennsylvania. Look it up in my channel, which is Protect Animal Life. This is the channel. I have 148 videos. Now, this makes 149 actually today. This one makes 149. 22 of them, counting today, are live streams. Generally, we start here about 4:30 Mountain Time in Utah. It should be 3:30 in California Pacific Time. I would say, "Hello from Chicago. Recently found your channel. I've noticed over the last decade the reports of dinosaurs about dinosaurs around have been considered, such as the Ropen, Bunyip, and Champ." Yeah, oh yeah. There's an incredible number of different cryptids that seem to be dinosaurs and pterosaurs. And we had this one just a week ago, last Friday, where we had carbon dating of dinosaur remains, dinosaur fossils. Incredible discoveries now that recent years about how they're much more recent than scientists had just assumed. So many scientists have just assumed they're many, many millions of years ago. No, not from the testing. When you test the bones directly, they're not that old. And it's not from contamination either. This is very detailed, scientific, objective, really rigorous testing. And it's turned out over and over again, different fossils, different parts of the bones, different bones of the same fossil, different bones in the same area, different fossils in different parts of the continent, all the same. These are recent, very recent compared with the assumptions about millions of years. But that's already done. We did that last Friday. Can't get into too much today because we need to get into these other things, and especially if anybody wants to contribute anything about Pennsylvania, because we got into that now. Garrett says, the lady said some crows were being chased by a black creature She was told it was a heron, but she said it was a featherless and had a reptilian tail with a triangle at the end of the tip of the tail. You know, I could talk off the top of my head from my memory, but the Midwest and Pennsylvania areas, I get them confused, all the different sightings I get from them over the years, and I might tell you a sighting that was actually in Ohio instead of Pennsylvania. I hesitate to say because so many similarities. Yeah, long tail, diamond at the end of the tail, this featherless creature. Well, she calls it triangle, yeah. But some people call it triangle. In Ohio, actually, it's more common for them to call it a ball at the end. I don't know why. Is it because they're popular for ball games? People like to sports in Ohio more than other people in the country, but it's a structure at the end of the tail, basically. And we'll get into that right now with this sketch by the eyewitness himself. Those of you who are new here, perhaps you haven't seen this, but this is a sketch drawn just minutes after the sighting happened, when the memory was fresh in the eyewitness's mind. It was drawn by Eskin Kuhn, who I spoke with just a few days ago. He's still in good health, fortunately, living in the Midwest of the United States, and he's a U.S. Marine. He was stationed as a U.S. Marine at Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, in 1971. And he had no idea that other people had sightings of dragons or pterodactyls or dinosaur birds, whatever you want to call them. He had no idea that people had sightings like that at Guantanamo Bay. He was out by himself on his break, looking out at the ocean, and then there flew close range, he called it, close range, and it was close, and not high altitude. It was flying pretty low elevation, pretty low, so he had a good view of it. So he just concentrated as they were flying past him. He concentrated because he wanted to remember them so that he could sketch. He's one of those persons who has just this talent for being able to see something and then sketch it precisely. What do you call that in an artist? Sketching, where they can just have that memory for just exactly how something appears to be. Most of us, like me, we don't have that talent, and or else we haven't developed it. It's possible to develop it. Anyway, there was a flange at the end of the tail, and there was something to note here. It has been reproduced over the years, or the decades, actually. Decades, and such that the tail doesn't show the hairs that he originally drew on it. He drew hairs on that structure at the end of the tail, and you can't see it now, but he said that was in the original sketch he drew, because that structure at the end of the tail had hair. It was hairy, and I've gotten a report like this, unless, I'll tell you, unless we have a bunch of chat things to deal with, which we do. Remember the lion, can you remember me of the lion in Africa? That kind of tail. Okay. All right. Yeah. Yeah, the chasing crows. It sounds familiar. Nick says, I admire your passion. Oh, thank you, Nick. I am just so excited about this. I'm so grateful I've been able to do this for the past 18 years, and I'm still in good health and able to keep on doing this. I've always been so really excited about these flying creatures, even though I never had a good sighting myself. Many people have. And Garrett says, do you think the Civil War picture of the pteranodon is real? That's a very good question. We dealt with that before. We can deal with it again. We can talk about it. There are two major photos. One of them is obvious fake, and there's no question it's a fake. The thing that's on the ground just doesn't really look like much except some canvas that somebody tried to shape. It's a hoax, no question. The other one is very complicated in the interpretation. There's evidence for and against it being an actual modern pterosaur, and it's a long story. I won't go into it. I wrote a whole book about it, published the book, and had people buy it, and then I took it off, had them stop the printing because I want to get more information. Haven't got the information yet, so it's still not available. I'm sorry. That's exactly the one I saw in 93. Mine was in very close range. Okay, Nicole. Nicole, thank you very much for coming on here. We've been communicating a little bit. You gave an incredible... can I read your report, Nicole, of what you wrote, or you just want to type it over again? I was about to read it here. I have your report here. This is very recent. I got this. I'd love to read it, unless you'd really like to just put it down yourself here. I have your whole report here that you put on the comment section of another video. It's actually in Southwest Pennsylvania quite a few years ago, back in State Road, Route 119 or 30, there was a documented sighting of a large blackbird the size of a small plane, sorry, a small plane, a Cessna. Whoa, that is big. Nick says, was in local newspapers. Oh, yeah. I'm not surprised. I wish I could get these newspaper reports more often. Nicole says, my sighting was in Fort Mill, South Carolina, 10 miles from Charlotte. I have it right here. I can read it off here. And 10 minutes from Charlotte, North Carolina, but in South Carolina, of course, was where the sighting was, but the very northern part of South Carolina. Nick says, Southwest Pennsylvania is a large percentage of the United States UFO, Bigfoot, crypto paranormal encounters. Oh, interesting. Nicole, I love that I found this site. Thanks for all you do. Oh, thank you, Nicole. Thank you so much for coming. I'm delighted you're here. I didn't know how you found out, but yeah, we have these live streams every Friday in the afternoon and early evening. Yeah, yes, we have been talking. It's been my pleasure. No, you go ahead and read it. Okay, I'll read it. Nicole wants me to read it. Here it is. Fascinating. And Nick says, at least from what Stan Gordon said to me, I had the opportunity to listen to one of his lectures on the subject. Oh, great. I'll have to take note of that. Stan Gordon. Okay. Okay. Here it is, though. This is from Nicole. Let's see. I live in South Carolina. I'm not going to read every single word, you know. I read the basics of. I live in South Carolina, about 10 minutes away from North Carolina. When I was in senior in high school, my friend and I were driving down a dark road, same area I am in now, all trees on each side of it. It was dark outside. Don't remember what time exactly. It was a huge black bird. Now, she says bird, but remember, people call these things birds sometimes, B-I-R-D, but that's just, they don't know what else to call it. It sounds weird to say, I saw a pterodactyl. That sounds a little weird to say, so people say bird sometimes. That's okay, whatever you call it. It's flying ahead, and I will never forget this for the rest of my life. It swooped down. I was so scared it looked like it was going to crash into the windshield, but it didn't, fortunately. Okay. It must have had massive strength and control to swoop down so fast and not hit the windshield like it did. I'm not surprised. They're incredible flyers. Incredible. They can fly. And we stopped dead in our tracks along with the two cars ahead of us. We all got out of the car in amazement. We were all strangers. And we're like, did you just see what I saw? I remember all of us saying, as my heart raced, it still races thinking about it, no one is going to believe us when we tell them this. The bird was black or a very dark color because it looked black to me. Well, yeah, that's common. It had the same shaped face as these birds everyone else describes in the sightings, long face and beak, horn shape on the top of its head. And let me go back briefly here to this and this. I'm sorry I can't look at the chat now. I need to finish reading this. Long face and beak, horn shape on the top of its head, a bit of a boxy horn, but a horn of sorts, a long tail. The tail did have a shape at the end, but it was all so fast, I'm not sure what shape. I don't understand. I had longer to look at the head and wings as it was headed straight towards the windshield. It did not have feathers. It was slick like a bat. It was huge. It glided. I actually never saw its wings flap. Wingspan was big. I mean, like it was at least as wide as the road, but it seemed bigger. I've gotten reports like that before. I'm not great with measurements. Scared the absolute hell out of us and out of me. Looking back, I have no earthly clue why I got put, I think she means why I got out of the car to look. Don't think I would do that now if the same thing were to ever happen. I'm laughing out loud. I have never seen one again. These trees have all been chopped down. Yeah. And everyone thinks I'm nuts when I tell this story. I seriously get pterodactyl, sorry, I can't spell, but I get gifts of the birds as jokes from my friends and family. Me too. But I saw that bird. They are real. They are still here. I have recently read about several sightings in the North Carolina mountains. I believe them. It makes sense, really. Birds can fly over storms if they are strong enough. Some could have made it through when all the dinosaurs became extinct. Thank you so much, Nicole. That is just a wonderful story. We're just fascinated with this. Thank you so much. Yeah, well, thanks for all you. Thank you very much, and thank you for letting me read that. At least from what Stan Gordon said, opportunity to listen to his lectures. Okay, West. I don't think you've been here before, have you? West. Interesting name. I think we are going to discover aliens before we do pterosaurs. I don't know. Not my specialty. I put you on my alerts. Oh, thank you so much, Nicole. That's cool. That's why you found us here. Yeah, if you subscribe, it's super. Today I just passed the 1,000 mark. We did. It's not me, thanks to you guys. That the channel Protect Animal Life passed the 1,000 mark for subscribers early this morning, and it's just keep on going up all through the day. More and more people are subscribing. And it's really becoming a success now. Thank you so much. After 2 years, I could say, well, it's about time after 2 years of work, but thank you for all those who subscribed. And if you subscribe, then you can click on that, what's that thing called, the notifications. And that by clicking on that thing, the bell, I think is called, then you will be notified of things like this live stream. Good point. I hadn't thought of mentioning that before. Yeah. I gave 2 descriptions. One is more detailed. Okay. The other one was more detailed. Okay, I wrote it under the North Carolina sighting video. Oh, I probably didn't see that yet, Nicole. I suspect if it's more detailed than what I just read. Oh, I want to see that. If it's more detailed than that, I got to see that. But I have to spend a little time with my wife today. We usually watch a movie Friday nights later, but I'll get to that. I want to see your more detailed report. And Nicole says, the other one was more detailed. Okay, all right, good. I was a diamond or triangle shape at the end of the tail. Yeah, I get that a lot over the last 18 years. It's the most common type of pterosaur that's still living, but it's not the only type. There is another general type which doesn't have a long tail. And in the early years, like say up until about 2005 at least, maybe close to 2006, I just assumed maybe the ones where people said they didn't have tails, people just didn't notice a tail. And over the years, consistently long tails outnumber the ones that don't have long tails, either short tails or they can't see a tail. But there's so consistently that still those ones with no tails come back, and sometimes they're good sightings where the person would have seen a tail if there had been one, and it's a really good detailed sighting. So I have to conclude, well, there is another type. I know it sounds weird, and some people just cannot handle that. It's just 2 general types of pterosaurs still living and different all over the world. Yes. That's the way the reports come in. And I don't see any problems with the majority of those reports, or I have any reason to doubt them. Nicole also said, it looked right at me, stared at me. The bird's strength and control amazed me. It came right up to the windshield, staring at me the entire time. It was looking right at me. Ooh, that is spooky. Ah. I've had some reports like that too. It happens. The great majority, I'd say over over 90% of the sightings, maybe 97% of the sightings over the years that I've received, it doesn't see anything that indicates that the pterosaur, Ropen, whatever you want to call it, that the pterodactyl itself was looking at the eyewitness, but it does happen. It does happen. In one case, where was that? In the Midwest? One case, and I don't remember, I think it was from the Midwest to the United States. The man was a boy at the time, as I recall, and he yelled at the creature. He yelled at it. And this, I have more than one sighting report like this. The eyewitness yelled at the creature, and it turned and looked at him as it was flying. And one case, the guy was thinking about diving underneath the car that he was right next to, and then he thought, well, with that long beak, if it wanted to, it could just drag me out of there. So he didn't dive under the car. Another case, there was a man and a woman who did dive under the car, and they kept trying to get them. This is fairly recently we got this sighting. This was then somewhere between western Texas and eastern New Mexico. And it was a number of years ago, and the husband and wife, that couple dived underneath their car, trying to get away from it, and the creature tried to get them and drag them out. Fortunately, it failed and it gave up. It could be scary sometimes. This doesn't happen very often, but occasionally I get a report that one of these pterodactyls, as people call them, generally it's a Ropen, I think, at least I don't like to say that. It's some kind of modern pterosaur, but it attacks people. It will attack someone. A 4-year-old girl in western Oklahoma many years ago. Fortunately, she dived down and it missed her. It didn't think she was going to dive down to the ground right when it got over her, so it couldn't grab her. She ran into the house and was safe, but occasionally one of these things will attack a person. And we did get into that earlier about this man was attacked in the Southwest Pacific. And Anon El Chocolate. I wish I would see one. I look up constantly when I see when I'm shooting it down, laughing. Well, yeah, don't shoot modern pterosaurs, because most of them are harmless to people. It's just occasionally one here and one there will attack a human, attack people. And that did happen. We'll go back here. That did happen around the 1960s, if I understand, in Papua New Guinea, in the northern part of Papua New Guinea, near Manus Island, which is many miles north of Umboy, where I had my expedition in the year 2004. But it did attack him, and eventually the man died. The man fought back and injured the animal, so the animal died pretty quick, and the man survived a few days, finally died of the injuries. It's not a first-hand account, so I'm not as sure about this as the ones where they have first-hand accounts, but still, I see no reason to doubt it. There's indirect evidence that these things do sometimes attack a native in Papua New Guinea. So, what do we have here with the chat? I was 18 when this happened. Now I'm 44. I used to go back and try and see it again. Yeah, oh boy, if only that would work. Here's the thing, and I know some of you want to see one. I understand, me too. I'd love to see one. I mean, I've had sighting reports, more than one, just within miles of my house here, and where my wife and I live in Murray, Utah. But the problem is this. Well, there's more than one problem. Some of these, they're nocturnal, basically. If not all of them, then the vast majority of them, at least most of the time, they're nocturnal. On occasion, they'll come out in the daytime for whatever reason. But sometimes they seem to kind of like travel, and so they might not be in the same area, even for the same week. If you come back, I come back a few days later, it might be far away. They like to travel, and unless you have a cave where one is raising young or has eggs or something, which would be very fortunate, where do you go? Where do you look? You go to the same place where one's been seen, it might be 1,000 miles away when you get there. I mean, 1,000 miles, I'm not exaggerating, they travel. I'm not absolutely sure, I haven't tagged one or anything like that, but it sure seems like they travel around. I think I'm pretty sure they do. I don't know exactly how and exactly to what extent. Where nobody has tagged one, as far as I know, so we can't really measure it. But they're certainly capable of flying very large distances. And we see them in so many different parts of North America, Mexico, the United States, and Canada, and Cuba, and other areas of the Caribbean, and other parts of the world. So many different areas. Nick says they could migrate similar to birds. Oh yeah, and Nicole says, never saw it again. I never felt threatened. As weird as that sounds, it had a very peaceful, curious look to its face and eyes. It was just checking me out. Yeah. Sometimes we get something like that they're just curious about people. But often they're not really that curious. They're not afraid of dogs generally. In my experience, they're not very troubled with dogs. If a dog's barking, in Lakewood, California, a few years ago, in Los Angeles County, the dog was barking wildly, paid no attention. But when the lady came out and yelled, "What are you doing?" yelling at the dog, "What's going on?" And then it got spooked, and that thing flew away into another street, into a tree in another street. Sometimes they are not fond of interactions with people, but they're individual cases. Each animal is different. There's nothing you can say about one. You can say, well, that means they're all afraid of people or they're all curious about people. No, they're individuals like we are. And Nick says, please have a wonderful day and thank you for this fascinating channel. Well, thank you, Nick. Thank you so much for coming. Come back. I hope that we can have this every Friday. As long as my internet service is working at this time of the afternoon on Fridays, we'll keep on going with different subjects and answering questions and talking about different ideas. The family desires to go swimming, and I must unfortunately yield. Right. We can understand that. How it's getting that time of year, all through the winter here, and nobody swims anywhere except maybe a rare instance of an indoor swimming pool. Anan El Chocolate. I'd like to go Mokele Mbembe in the Congo. Yeah, I can understand that. This is my telephone, don't worry. My wife will get the phone. Okay. Yeah, unfortunately, and I have some of my associates that I work with, or at least have worked with, who have gone on expeditions. I've almost lost count of how many persons I know and have communicated with and have worked with who have gone on at least one expedition to Africa to search for the Mokele Mbembe. I've never gone myself, but I find it fascinating. But it's very, very difficult situation, not just expensive. Fund your own way. Nobody's likely to pay you to do that. But it's great dangers and difficulties and struggles and just challenges. There's way the challenges and difficulties and dangers are way more than what we can cover here. Just be aware. It's awful. And hunting in the Congo. Yeah, I know. I've wanted to do things like that, and I was able to go on an expedition in the Southwest Pacific and search for the Ropen, and I interviewed wonderful eyewitnesses there. Incredible. We've been through some of that before, this testimony from the natives. And it's fascinating that the possibility that a sauropod dinosaur species may be living in Central Africa. But I believe it. I have no doubt. And there's certainly not any significant evidence against it really to speak of if you really dig into it and look at it objectively and really learn about what's been discovered in those expeditions. And yeah, it's still alive, I have no doubt. Now, living pterosaurs. For those who are just joining us, I need to briefly go over something myself to get the record straight, to see how things are going with. We have a lot of viewers now. We have a good number of viewers. We're going to go over here to the title. For those who are just joining, May 21st, 2021, live stream. I'm Jonathan Whitcomb from Murray, Utah, in the United States. YouTube Pterodactyl video success, because some of these videos are really have gone into some kind of mini viral situation now. This Pterodactyl Attack video on this channel that had only about maybe 8 or so videos a day, 8 or so views a day, just a couple of weeks ago, and yesterday was over 1,200 views just in a 24-hour period. It's really taken off. And another one's not that successful, but still is much more successful than usual, is Pterodactyl Sightings, about the interview that I did with Jonathan about a year or so ago in my living room, and he answered questions. That one is also very good. And there are several others that are, I don't have the images here yet. So feel free to participate and ask questions, make comments. Tell us about your sighting if you have a sighting. We just had a wonderful report from Nicole. Her sighting quite a few years ago in that would be South Carolina, but the northern end of South Carolina, just a few miles from North Carolina. Fascinating report. If you want to see it and read it, you can just go to my video on this YouTube video on this channel. The video is entitled Pterodactyl Sightings, Flying Creatures Around the World. And of course, feel free to watch the video too, but just see the comments she made in detail. But there's another video where she does mention, she goes into more detail about that sighting she had so many years ago when she was in high school. Fascinating. I should tell you something here about seeing one of these flying creatures when you're driving. Be careful. Some people have crashed. There's one case, I think it was quite a few years ago, but it was in the United States, and I don't remember where, in the middle part of the United States. Somebody was driving, they saw this big pterodactyl fly over the road. Guess what happened? They were okay, they didn't crash, but the car in front of them went off the side of the highway, rolled over beside the highway. I'm telling you, these are not herons. They're not cranes. They're not ordinary birds. People panic when they see them. Sometimes they crash. It's not just 1 or 2 times either. People have crashed because of pterosaur sightings when they were driving the car, when they had an encounter with one of them. Most don't, fortunately. I didn't crash when my wife saw one a few years ago. Because she didn't tell me. She kept quiet about it till I came to the destination and parked the car and turned off the engine. Then after that, she told me the sighting she had while I was driving. Fortunately, probably. And Sandy Shipper, is that the way it's pronounced? Thank you for joining us, Sandy. I think you're new here, aren't you? Thank you so much for joining us on this chat here. On this, these are live stream videos set Friday afternoon. I heard a story about a family that were on a main route through Central America in a desolate area at night and claimed they were chased, attacked by 2 giant, probably pterosaurs. I have heard reports from different parts of North America. I think I would have received some sighting reports from South America, except I have, part of the problem is I just not good at Spanish. My wife is great with Spanish because she's born in South America, but I'm not good at Spanish. I used to be better than I am now, but I've neglected the language. So I do have web pages, though, in different languages besides English. The vast majority of English, way over 1,000 web pages and blog posts I've written and published over the last 18 years, and a few of them are in Spanish, German, French, Polish, Japanese, maybe one other language, but those are not many in those languages. Okay. Why do you think some people get attacked and others not? In my experience, mine was peaceful and just seemed curious. Yeah, it's generally, first of all, if you're by yourself, be careful, because certain parts of the world, including North America, including Canada and the United States, there's a rare exception of these flying creatures that they just have learned that people can be prey. Instead of trying to catch a deer or a mountain goat or something like that, somewhere in North America, they find, well, it can be easy to catch people sometimes. And unfortunately, I'm afraid that has taken place. I don't have a direct report in North America of somebody being attacked and killed directly, but there's so many near misses. I can't ignore this and pretend like it's not real. It's real. It's real. I wish it weren't, because it makes my job harder, but it's not that. It's we don't want people to be hurt. But some of them are just rogue Ropens. They're just bad. I hope it's not a Ropen. It's another kind of pterosaur, but most of these are Ropens that are people see, and the great majority of them, maybe I don't know, 98% or more of the sightings, there's no indication of any attack or potential attack or attempted attack or failed attack. They just don't bother the people. And it's hard to say which one, or what area. It's just, if you got bad luck and you're alone, watch out. Yeah. And Nathan Longpray, thank you for coming back, Nathan. Nathan's been here a number of times, I believe. Glad you are here. I didn't know your wife saw one. Was it in Utah? That one, no. We were traveling from Utah to Oregon to visit family, and going west on that freeway that's on the southern side of the Columbia River, the Columbia Gorge, and she saw it. It's very high. It didn't get it. She didn't have a good sighting. I would not classify this as a good sighting, but she feels pretty sure it was not a bird. It was too big. But she didn't tell me till we arrived at our destination. She didn't want me to go over the freeway and dive off into the Columbia River, which is not a good thing to do when you're on vacation. Cue bad birdie. Yeah, I know some bad ones. There are some bad ones. They're rare, though, compared with the ones that are just want to catch fish and things like that, or bats or whatever. Nicole says, do you think they are intelligent? Yes, I do. I have indications of that. Real indications. There are some of them are indirect, and some of them are just, a native's tradition that they're intelligent, but no, they seem to be really good hunters. I'll tell you a case I got recently, a sighting report. What state was it? Was it northern Georgia? Don't hold me to this. This is in the southeastern United States. And the eyewitness said that, trying to get this in my memory again, it's a recent report. It was nighttime. He was driving through an area that was getting into some swamps, so they didn't have any more street lights. Of course, in the swamp, you don't have street lights. So he turned on his headlights, and they saw this huge thing coming through there. And what was the subject that brought that up? Intelligent. Yeah, it was not one, it was two. And they were flying together in a coordinated way, chasing a bat. And he said they were coordinating the way they flew to try to get that bat. That's intelligence. They were working together. And we have indirect evidence in southwestern Texas of them flying as possibly nocturnal flying creatures that probably sometimes hunt bats. There are other things too, but they act in a very intelligent way. They hunt intelligently. And I've mentioned that before here, if you ever heard me say it. So we've been through that before. Sorry, two giant dinosaur-type flying creatures. Yeah, weird, huh? It's the weirdest thing, but I've been researching this for 18 years or so, about 18 years. And I've interviewed hundreds of people from around the world from 5 continents, 5 continents. And there are certain similarities in the reports. And these are people from different cultures, different backgrounds, different languages, different religious beliefs, different educational experiences, different cultures. And there's certain details that keep coming back about these modern flying dinosaurs and that they're real. It's not some kind of weird cultural misidentifications or people inventing something. They're real flying creatures. You can call them what you want. It's up to you what you want to call them, but they're real. And Anand says, from the sounds of it, smart like dolphins. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised they could have something similar to dolphin intelligence. I wouldn't be surprised. Still alive thousands of years later. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Here's Nathan says, two chasing a bat was in northern Alabama. Oh, yeah. Sometimes I get confused. Georgia and Alabama. I used to live in southern Louisiana. I've never lived in Alabama or Georgia. But let's see what Uncanny Valley. Thank you for coming back. Wow, you're here again. Keep on coming. Yeah, keep on coming. What if they feed on the bats that fly up to 10,000 feet to eat insects? I don't know about that. Are there bats that go that high? That's pretty high. I hadn't heard about that. But I know there are some cases where an apparent pterosaur has been seen by airplane pilots at a pretty good altitude. That by itself, that doesn't mean that they're not a bird, because some birds do fly high, of course. But it was gigantic. It was these two pilots, the pilot, I should say first officer, were flying a twin-engine prop plane from northwestern coast of Australia toward the northwest, toward that direction, and they almost collided with this gigantic pterodactyl, as they called it. It was pretty good altitude. We might go into that sometime if you like. That's another story. But yeah, it's northern Alabama. Okay, I have so many sightings people send me constantly, and new sightings come up over. And some of them are similar because the animals themselves look similar, and some people will describe them a little bit similar. Usually there'll be something different, and something new and something exciting that I can discover that I didn't know about before. I'm grateful for that. 10,000 feet? Okay. Well, that's high. I didn't know that insects flew that high. Why would the insects fly that high? Unless it's over mountains or something. I don't know. Why would the insects fly that? Oh, unless it's a migration, possibly. I could see maybe some kind of butterflies. Butterflies can fly tremendous distances. I didn't know they went that high though. Woo, 10,000 feet. But the bats that I'm thinking of, or that I've heard about or seen indirect evidence for bat chasing, are much lower to the ground, much closer to the ground level. And there's now, just recently I told you about that sighting was chasing a bat. There are two of the flying creatures chasing a bat. That was and Nathan says it was northern Alabama, so I'll take that as where it was. I was thinking maybe Georgia, but that was something else that I got from Georgia recently, I think. But we have to be careful about some of these videos. Don't just go looking for Ropen on YouTube and just see one that has almost 1 million views and say, oh, it has to be good. No. The one that has getting very close to 1 million views is just a horrible, misleading video. I won't tell you the name of it or the name of the person that put it up. It's mainly about me. It has a photograph of me near the beginning and has my name, and it goes into one thing after another. It's true. I did go on an expedition and Papua New Guinea. Yeah, I did interview natives, but then it goes all things that are not true, that are false. Goes into my religious beliefs and gets some of it right, some sense, yes, but then it gets it wrong. It's better if somebody wants to make a video about me, that they contact me. Don't just go to rumors online and then just assume that the worst thing you hear is true. Very bad way to deal with making a video about another person. Horrible. And I'm going to make a video about that because it's doing damage. People, I had contacted on one of these videos, somebody made a comment. They just came in on my channel, on one of my videos. It says, I hate liars. I hate liars, and I hate Jonathan Whitcomb. I know he saw that video. And I'm not angry or upset now, though there have been times when I have been upset, but not now. I see things in better perspective, and it gives me an opportunity to explain more things to more people, but I'm not a liar, no. I'll give you an example how that falls apart. I paid my own way in 2004 to go to Envoy Island expedition. I wanted to get a video of a modern pterosaur, a Ropen. I wanted to get a videotape of it. I failed. I had so many good eyewitnesses and interviewed them, but when I got home to the United States, I admitted to everybody I never saw anything like a modern pterosaur or a pterodactyl or a Ropen. I never saw that. If I was a liar, anyway dishonest, how easy would be for me to just say, oh, I saw a pterodactyl. Oh, yeah, I saw one. It was incredible. It was huge. It was no feathers at all. I saw the thing. No, that would be a lie, and I don't lie. I have to admit, I never saw anything. It's just the way it is. Yeah, and in Canny Valley, over all America, they feed on high-flying insects like moths, huge numbers. It's all there. If you look it up, well, I might do that sometime. It's interesting. And Anand says, sad people just looking for clicks. Yeah, that is sad because it's misleading people. Now, some people will not believe anything I say because they watch that video first, and they will just not listen to anything I say. Even if it's about my religious beliefs, what I think. No, because this anonymous person on this other channel, on this other video, an anonymous person said that I believe this and this. Goodness, good grief. I don't have words to describe. If somebody wants to know what I believe or what I think, just ask me. Don't look online for what people say about what I think. Ugh. Let's see. Nicole says, why do you think people say we are crazy when we see these large birds? A good question. Honestly, we have large birds that are similar. And like I said, logic says they could have made through the Ice Age and alligators. Yeah, true. Oh, yeah, absolutely. The people are sometimes afraid of the truth. They want to keep on thinking a certain way. They want to just think this particular way, and science says this, and this is science. It's in a textbook. That is science. Nothing can be different than what science says. Boy, it's so dogmatic. Yeah, and they're it's probably a fear, and the people that most want to protect modern scientists are not scientists. They're amateurs that don't know much about science, and they're just afraid that they've maybe been told things that are not true, and they're very uncomfortable with that, fearful or just totally anxious, and they don't want to consider the possibility that textbooks have been wrong in certain things. I'm not saying they're wrong in a lot of things, but certain details, science textbooks are just wrong because science progresses naturally. People find new things. The scientists will discover new things and see things differently. Well, they should. That's what science should be. We can get into that sometime. I've written a scientific paper about modern pterosaurs. But yeah. I don't know. That's interesting, Nicole, but why does it seem crazy that a large, strong bird could not fly above the storm and use its extremely strong back to chip through that? I don't know. That's an interesting question. On Kenai Valley, I saw a video the other day about the Quetzalcoatlus that it could fly 20,000 miles. That's the diameter of the whole planet. Oh, yeah, no doubt. No doubt. I mean, butterflies can fly hundreds of miles over an ocean or sea. It's just incredible. But these things, with these wingspans of some of them, ooh, they can just fly over the whole planet, no problem. Nicole, tell me logic and not thinking that can happen. Just wondering, how did alligators make it? Yeah, good question. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, trying to serve dinner with the chat. Sure. Yeah. The logic of not thinking that can happen. Well, in general, I'll tell you, there's exceptions. Some scientists are just ridicule me, and they don't want to believe anything I say. But generally, it's not scientists who are most violently against the possibility that not all pterosaurs became extinct millions of years ago. They're not scientists, but they're afraid that some kind of discovery like a modern pterodactyl might threaten their whole idea about what is true and what's not true, and that science says what's true, and so you believe science. Yeah, they're afraid of anything that can threaten their way of thinking. It's a deep subject. We could get into it perhaps more in the future. I need to think more about it and do a little work on it myself. On Kelly Valley, hit pieces always get clicks. Yeah, when you're ridiculing somebody, make them look silly and stupid. If somebody sees that, don't watch the video about the Ropen and it's almost 1 million views now. Don't watch it. There's just so much misinformation, not just about me, but about the research and everything. I'm going to make other videos that go into details, not today much, but I'll tell you, it's horrible. But I am a scientist, okay? I am a scientist. The people that ridicule me that I'm not right or I'm wrong, I'm somehow, they're generally not scientists. Occasionally there are some paleontologists would just dismiss me and say that I don't know what I'm talking about, or I'm just a fanatic religiously or whatever. But most of them are real severe critics, are not real scientists. Oh, that's interesting. The scientific minds who conflage religion with the topic of extant pterosaurs received opinion is the bone of social media. There's a lot of it going around, I guess. Anand says a nice mix of Stockholm syndrome and cognitive dissonance. Interesting. But Nathan, a real scientific changes their beliefs when evidence disapproves it, not rejecting evidence to preserve that belief. Yes, good point, Nathan. It's a little complicated with cryptozoology when we're dealing with eyewitness reports. That's tricky because we don't have the animal itself. And that's where we really need to have this nonprofit organization about the Ropen pterodactyl. Animal discovery. Animal discovery will be coming out as a real official nonprofit organization before the end of the year. I hope it doesn't take too long. It's basically I need to finish the paperwork. I've got one part of the paperwork done, the bylaws, but I need to do the other part. But let's see. The problem is asteroid strike. Well, I'm not going to get into asteroids a long time ago. That's not a time to get in that deep a subject. That's exactly the problem. Yeah, and we need to understand that the basis of Western science is in human experience. We can go into, for example, the case with Galileo, when he had his special telescope that he used to observe Jupiter, and he saw these 4 specks that would kind of go in and out and around as sort of away around Jupiter at different days and different times he observed it, he concluded that it was for some kind of satellites, 4 of them, going around the planet Jupiter. And of course, a person that's a skeptic that doesn't want to look or investigate would say, oh, it's just fly specks. And, you know, once in a while you'll wipe off the fly specks, and then the more flies will come, and then it will make more specks. And of course, the specks will be at different places, of course. So that's what it is, fly specks. You know, you didn't really see anything circling, because the only thing that can circle is something circling the Earth. You know, you can't have something circling something other than the Earth. The Earth is the center of the universe for everything. You know, all this dogma, and now we got the things with modern pterosaurs, like there can't possibly be even one species existing. It's ridiculous. Oh, howdy, Static X. Thank you for joining us. Thank you very much. We've been over an hour here now, this Friday afternoon and evening. Nicole says, that's a good point. Always make. So how did crocs make it? And it's impossible that some of these birds did not. It's not logical to me. Yeah, it's not logical to assume that all pterosaurs are extinct. Where did the idea come from? Does anybody here know? Where did this idea come from that all pterosaurs that are known from any fossil or fossils, all pterosaurs are extinct? All the types that lived in the past are extinct. Where did that come from? If you haven't heard this before, you could be really surprised. It comes from a discovery that related to a discovery that was made when Benjamin Franklin was still living. Yes, the late 1700s. Yeah, late 1700s, when Benjamin Franklin, the scientist, was still living, and somebody discovered a pterosaur fossil, and they just assumed that it was extinct. And that carried on through many other scientists and other discoveries of other fossils of pterosaurs, and they just held on to that same idea that, oh, these animals are all extinct. They don't, nothing like that lives nowadays. Oh, we could go into that sometime. We could have a video just on that kind of subject. I've written about that before. Okay, in a book. Okay. Okay, Nathan says, in a court of law, if 2 or more separate eyewitnesses see something, it is considered real. Well, I used to work with attorney firms. I was with legal videographer. I was had my own business that I worked with attorneys for a while in Southern California, and I was a lot more acquainted with the law and courtroom situations than the average man on the street. I'm not a lawyer, but I certainly know more than the average person about the law and cases of court decisions. I've lost count of how many times I've been in court for various reasons. Not that I was a criminal, not like that. Been in testimonies and in jury cases where I was on the jury, and other cases. But anyway, yeah, it's a little more complicated than that. There's no strict thing about 2 or more. But it's in general that can have 2 persons giving similar testimony can certainly have a very strong influence on a jury. Absolutely. And we have hundreds of eyewitness sightings just I've received myself, not to mention my associates, not to mention them who've also received eyewitness sighting reports, and not to mention others who in some other field or in cryptozoology, but not my associates, who also have received these reports, and the newspapers that receive these reports. And it just goes on and on. True. Yeah, we need to pay attention. Uncanny Valley said, I always ask skeptics how they would prove they had seen a Ropen if they did, how they would provide any evidence. They can't answer. Of course, they can't. It's your own personal experience. We can get into something here interesting that's related. Let's get more of the chat. Nicole said, with all the cell phones and new age technology, I hope someone gets an awesome video of them soon. It will happen. I don't know how soon, but it will happen. Or many videos come out that can be authenticated as real. It will happen. We're getting closer to that. And Sandy says, thanks, subscribed. Super, Sandy. Thank you very much for being part of our community here, our little village of believers and investigators. And I understand some people want to just investigate to find out, is it possible? Could this really be a valid position? Is it possible that not all species of pterosaurs are extinct? I'm happy when people have an open mind. I don't require people to think like me. Goodness sakes. Over the past 18 years, I've spent maybe approximately 14,000 hours on my investigation on living pterosaurs. I don't expect anybody to have the same opinion that I do. How could you, unless you really spent a lot of time on it and had happened to interview the same people that I have and written the same kind of books I have. It's each of us has our own perspective. And then, yeah, Nicole says, Nathan, you are making some great points. He is. I'm glad Nathan is here. On Static X, thank you for joining us. Your name sounds familiar. Have you been here before, Static X? That sounds familiar. Maybe I'm just getting old and everything sounds familiar to me now. I wanted to see how positive the chat was. Right. Yeah, we usually have a great positive chats here. Very, very rarely anything negative. And I don't remember ever in all the many weeks we've been doing this, have we ever had somebody come on that was just absolutely negative and absolutely vicious and attacking? I don't remember anything like that. This is wonderful. I'm just delighted that you all are so positive and communicating in reasonable ways. Uncanny Valley, the problem is phone cameras aren't suitable for subjects over 60 feet away. I hadn't thought about that. Yeah, I don't use them myself. I hadn't thought about that. I like real regular cameras. It will need to be either a large crowd who witness it or someone with a professional camera. Yeah. We can have a whole video about that. I used to be a professional videographer. And for attorney firms, as I said, that was what I did with the attorneys and interviewing different people for different court cases, not criminal, but civil cases, court cases, or potential court cases. Generally, they're resolved before there's actually a trial, which is the whole point. You want to get it taken care of as best you can for your side before there is a trial, and then you settle it and get it done with and go to something else. Uncanny Valley, the problem is phone cameras. Yeah, that's true. And Uncanny Valley says also their bones are like paper. Their remains would not last more than a week in the environment. I hadn't thought about that. I know that some things really don't last at all. Some bones, I had an experience with this in the Yosemite area of Central California quite a few years ago. Our family had a project one summer. The kids, my wife and I had little kids, and the cousins, and they got together with my dad, and Grandpa helped them to bury these little dead animals in this particular place. And we measured exactly where that was. 1 year later, we came back. There's nothing. Not one bone was left. Not one bone. So things do have a tendency to decay and be eaten and be taken away or whatever. They don't remain unless, and that's just a big bone. Of course, a deer is something else. That is totally different. A large bone from a deer will be in the same general location for quite a long time. But that's different than the bones of the pterosaurs. Of course, I hadn't thought about that. Deer don't fly unless they're being carried by a pterosaur, maybe under certain conditions, if the pterosaur is large enough. Okay. Yeah, at Static X, where would people report their sighting? Okay, this is a good question. Let me go right now to the contact page. Please get in touch with me if you have a sighting to report or any comment, or you know of somebody that has a sighting. And go to this. You can find this just by searching. I don't recommend Google so much as DuckDuckGo. I recommend because you have better luck with that in certain kind of searches. But contact me here. Contact Whitcomb. And you can find this on the description. You should be able to find this on the description page at the bottom of this when this is published. When we're in live stream, I don't know what's going on. But once this live stream is over this evening, then YouTube will put this permanently on my channel here, and so people can go and they'll go to the description, and they can go to the bottom of the description or somewhere on there and get that link where they can contact me and get in touch with me by email. So, okay, Staticus, I told you my sighting here in Oklahoma. Oh, that's interesting. And let me go back a little further. Nicole, you're not the only one misspelling. That's okay. No problem. We know what you mean. And then Uncanny Valley says, well, as an actual witness, your contribution far outweighs both of us. It's a really amazing sighting you had. I'm actually really jealous. And which sighting is that, Uncanny Valley? I didn't have the sightings myself. I'm telling you what other people reported to me. And this is hundreds of sightings over 18 years that people have sent me. And I write books about it, and over 1,000 web pages and blog posts, and I deal with it, analyze it, and try to determine everything I can learn possible, and then tell as many people possible with what I learn. But I don't have a good sighting myself. My sightings are 3, and every single one of them is so poor that I don't even mention it usually. It's just not, I don't consider myself an eyewitness in the general sense. Okay. Okay, Static X says, I told you my sighting here in Oklahoma. Well, I have more than one report from Oklahoma, I believe, in the last few weeks. If you can help me there. So, is this in western Oklahoma, like quite a few years ago, or another part of Oklahoma? Static X. Nicole says, great point about the bones in Uncanny Valley. Yeah, that is a great point, isn't it? I love that. I hadn't thought about that, but they are thin wings. They're delicate. They have to be thin to fly. True. But what about their bones and their horns and beaks? A good question there too. Would they not hold up? Yeah, but here's the thing about animals in the wild. I've seen at least once a live bear in the wild in Southern California, black bear. But I never found any bones of one. Many people have seen black bears alive. Not many of them see the bones of them. How would they know there are bones of that particular kind of animal, either a bear or a pterodactyl? How would they know? Most people wouldn't recognize it, know what it was. And Uncanny Valley, the head would hold up longer. Yeah. Yeah, but how in the world would people know? I mean, it's just smelly stuff at first, and then it's just scattered bones, and people wouldn't know it'd be something unusual. And Nicole, oh man, Nicole says, I would not give that experience up for anything but my kid, laughing out loud. Just amazing. Yeah, we're grateful for the sightings. I hope you do see one day in Uncanny Valley. I truly did. Perhaps they have been mating and more are here now, and that's why we're having more and more sightings. What do you think? And Uncanny Valley says, what is the website for making reports? I'd like to know to pass on to witnesses on the other videos. There's heaps of them. Yeah. Yeah, any of my websites, you'll probably be able to find. There's over 1,000 of them, web pages and blog posts that I have online. I recommend don't Google. Don't use Google to search for modern pterosaurs. I've tried this. I experimented. Go DuckDuckGo. DuckDuckGo will send it to my web pages and to positive things. If you look up live pterosaur or pterodactyls not extinct, Google will send you to all the pages that say they are all extinct, not the ones you want. Just a regular, standard dogma about it. Use DuckDuckGo for searching. I recommend highly. And Nicole, I'm so excited you guys do this. I will try and be here every Friday. It's a day. Super. It is fabulous. Thank you, Nicole. Thank you so much. And each time I try to get it at least started with something of a different subject, usually almost always related to living pterosaurs, almost always. Last week it was mainly dinosaurs, but that was very exceptional. It's basically Ropens, modern pterodactyls. And I try to get a little bit different angle of it and how it relates to other things in science and other matters of cryptozoology and sometimes other areas, particular sightings. So grateful I was able to read Nicole's report here. Fascinating. And there's many different aspects of this type of investigation in cryptozoology that people would never imagine. I mean, we could go on for hours and hours, except my wife is expecting me to have a little bit of time with her tonight, and we like to watch more of a movie that we haven't finished yet. But I'm so grateful you're here now. Have you had any reports of them in the Texas Panhandle? Okay. Texas Panhandle, you mean the western, let me see, I'm trying to remember. You mean the western part of Texas, that far western part? Yeah, I just mentioned that earlier this evening with one in that area of western Texas. It was somewhere between western Texas and eastern New Mexico. And this was a report I just received a few weeks ago. And this husband and wife were traveling. I don't know which direction they were going, east or west, but they were traveling that general area. And they got out of the car for whatever reason, and they saw this flying creature coming toward them, and they realized that thing is huge and it's coming exactly toward them. They dived under the car just in time as it got to their car and tried to pull them out from under the car. It tried to get them out. I supposed to eat them. That was scary, but who's going to believe that? If you've never heard that there are modern pterosaurs, how in the world would you believe a story about a pterodactyl attacking a couple like that? You have to have some background of what's going on around the world with sighting reports before you can ever deal with an attack on people. But that wasn't that part of the southern United States. Okay, Static X says Oklahoma. Let's see. I was hunting morals. What are morals? I think you told us about this. Yeah, hunting morals. Okay, Nicole's sighting is the one I was referring to. It came up to her in her car on foot and stared in the window. Oh, well, maybe you got more detail than I did, Uncanny Valley. Another great point, Uncanny Valley. Guess social media is great for that. She's not actually responding for that other remark. She's responding to an earlier remark. Citing, nothing out that. Yeah, I understand, Uncanny Valley. We can make spelling mistakes, no problem. Make all the spelling mistakes you want, within reason. Wow, walked up to her car. I don't recall that, and Nicole better comment on that. Okay, Nicole says, my bird flew up to my car. Flew. She said flew. My bird, a pterodactyl, flew up to my car, staring at me while it flew. I could have touched it if the windshield wasn't between us. Did someone have one walk up to the car, or did I make it sound like mine did that? Probably just a mistake, Nicole, that somebody made, and it happens sometimes the way it's worded because it was such a close encounter. And they might have confused it with another sighting in New Jersey in which one did walk around a car, this lady who was in her car at night. That's totally different sighting in a different part of the country. And Kenny Valley Ropen Network has some good eyewitness interviews. If you haven't seen them, I would love to hear Nicole recount her encounter in her own words. Yeah, super. That would be super. Wide Gauge, Uncanny Valley said it walked up. Yeah, but that was a mistake, Wide Gauge. It didn't really happen like that. No, my bad, Nicole. Yeah, I assumed it must have been on foot. I didn't know you had said it was on the wing. Yeah, and that kind of misunderstanding can happen sometimes. This case, it was really close to the windshield. And yeah, I can see that kind of mistake happening. Not sure which is more amazing. I think one walking up would be freaky stuff. And that did happen in New Jersey, not too many years. Well, it's been a few years now, but the lady contacted me. That is an incredible story. We can get into that sometime because I think it's an incredible giant flying creature, but not necessarily a pterosaur. That's the weird part. It might not be a pterodactyl in that case, but it did walk up around her car, staring at through the window and the windshield at her. That was spooky. Ooh, it was more scary perhaps than some pterodactyls might be. It was just so weird. And okay, yeah, uncanny valley. Yeah, what are morels? They're mushrooms. Oh, mushrooms. Okay, looking for mushrooms. They'd be delicious mushrooms that taste like steak. Yeah, some mushrooms are incredible. I've heard, though I'm not an expert. Flavor of some of them. But yeah, you can be doing a lot of things outside and then have an encounter with a pterosaur. Texas Panhandle is the top part. Oh, the top part, Amarillo. Okay, someone in 1976 was 10 years old on a ranch in the Texas Panhandle. Okay. It was out on horseback to when we were rounding up cattle. Oh, interesting. And Shanna says, I was riding my horse and lagged behind. It was late morning and the sun was bright in the clear sky. The sun was around 10 to 11 a.m. position in the sky. Doesn't sound good. And Shauna says, a shadow came over me and my horse. It was huge, and I looked up and saw a huge pterodactyl as it went in front of the sun. Ooh, yeah, we get reports like that in the daytime sometimes. It does happen. And then he says, it was bigger than any eagle and all skin and long beak. I recognize it from pictures and dinosaur books. It did not have feathers. It was leathery skin. Yes, I've gotten this. I could mention a little bit more if it's okay. People see leathery skin. That does not necessarily mean that there's no hair. Remember, leather comes from cows, and cows have a little bit of hair on their bodies, on their leather. Even leather before it's processed has hair on it. Well, what people mean when they say leathery is that there's no obvious hair from the distance that they were observing it. They couldn't see any hair because, of course, if you see a human being with hair like on my arm, you notice this is only inches away from the camera, so you see hair. But as I move back further and further, eventually I'll get to the point where there will be no hair visible because it's just too far away. And so people will not see hair usually, but there are exceptions. Sometimes a person will see hair on the creature. But that is the general appearance. It's like leathery, not with fur or hair. And China said, I watched it for a second before it flew on, and then the sun hit my eyes and made me look away. Well, and I rubbed my eyes and looked up, but it wasn't there. I searched the sky, but it was gone. I was a little scared, but more in shock. Well, yeah, I have an idea of what might have happened, but we don't have time to get into it too much tonight. It has to do with how they fly. Yeah, we'll get into that sometime. There's a possibility, but we'll get into that sometime. And Shanna says, yeah, okay. And Nicole says, so I was a passenger. I saw it coming toward us. I did not realize the size until it got up closer. Yeah, I can understand that. It glided, never flapped its wings. As it got closer, its eyes locked with mine. Locked with mine. Yeah, that is incredible. When it got to the point where I thought it was going to come through the windshield, it raised up its head and flew over the car. The strength and precision was amazing. Oh boy, it's an incredible flying creature. Shauna says, in the last few years, a friend of mine said he saw one also when he was young, only 2 hours away. He was in Amarillo from where I saw that one. Okay, thank you so much, Shauna. Thank you for telling us about that. Nicole says, I give a very detailed description under the North Carolina sightings, I believe. Let me check. Okay, thank you, Nicole. I will get to that eventually, but I need pretty soon to get with my wife. Yeah, and Shane, Static X says, what color? The one in Witness was blue and grayish, like a blue heron, but it was much, much larger. Yeah, locked, yeah. And Kenny Valley, yeah, I wish you should give John the report on his site so there is official record, Nicole. It's important, mainly to track in the locations where they have been seen for the data. Thank you, Uncanny Valley. And Y-Gauge, wonder if they'd smack into a glass window like some birds do. I hope not. Hope not. Thank you, Shanna, for sharing. Yeah, thank you very much. Appreciate that sighting report from Texas. Fernando, there are many places that hide surprises, inaccessible places, mountain ranges, deserts, and oceans, and imagine that in the 21st century, we can still surprise ourselves. Absolutely, absolutely, Fernando. In Kelly Valley, the fossils we do have are also mostly incomplete, by the way, but they know that they had an enlarged flight center in their brain, far larger in scale to a bird's. True, they do have large brains. They believe they were masters of flight. Absolutely, we get that in modern pterosaurs in the eyewitness sighting reports. And even though it looks like it doesn't flap its wings and it changes direction, that's because it's a very subtle change that you don't notice, and it will cause a change in the flight. And there's things we can talk about that. We can talk about that too sometime. Nicole says, Kenny Valley, another great idea. I can give an official report. I think it's important as well. Yeah, thank you, Nicole. Sure. You're certainly welcome to send me email, and I'll put it together with the other reports you gave in the comments, and that could, yeah, really be helpful. But I do have it in my records now, that other report that you gave that I read here. This one, this I already have it in my computer, so it's there, it's safe. But it would be great if you can want to give another report, maybe some other details you didn't think of before. Sure, absolutely. And wide gauge, love it when people drop a sighting report. Yeah, that's wonderful. You get it in the records. And Nicole, I assume Nicole Stanziale, is that the way to pronounce it, Nicole? It's okay with us to use your name, like is this your name, or do you want to keep your name secret, or this not your real name? Let us know, because it helps the investigation if we have the name of the eyewitness, but we understand if someone wants to be anonymous. Of course, there are reasons for that. So we totally want you to be the one to decide, Nicole, if you want to be anonymous or not. It's up to you. And okay. In Uncanny Valley, I really want to hear that story about the non-pterosaur encounter on foot. Yeah. Oh, yeah, we do need to go into that. Please do a show on that. I actually did. I don't remember how. It was quite a few weeks ago, and I don't remember the name of that. I believe, pretty sure it was a live stream on this channel, Protect Animal Life. And the picture that was sketched by this lady, the sketch is weird. Doesn't look like a pterosaur, unless she was mistaken for some reason. Don't know for sure, but it was weird. I get strange things, and over the period of years, I get hundreds of these particular sightings that apparently are pterosaurs, and then occasionally I'll get a dinosaur or a weird flying creature that doesn't sound like a pterosaur. So I get all kinds of different things. The world is incredible. Sometimes giant eagles that look like a regular eagle, but in North America, but they're actually bigger, really quite a bit bigger. Yeah, there's things to discover. True. And Nicole says, Staticus, mine was black or some dark color. It looked black, but it was dark out, so I could not see if it had hints of any other colors, just looked black. Yeah, that's a good point, Nicole. Thank you for mentioning that. I said it correct. Whoa. So we can use your name. Oh, it is your name. Okay. Yes, you can absolutely use my name. Super, Nicole. Thank you. It does help. It really does help in certain ways that we can say this is a real person. It's not something that Jonathan Whitcomb made up in his imagination. No, it's a real person. Yes, real people. Oh, I love real people. Jessica, I believe that many dinos are still alive today, but they live in remote places on Earth. And that's a good point. No, I don't know if we'd want to go in this, but I have received a report, and more than one. Just a few weeks ago, I got a report of a parent velociraptor, and it's not the first time I got a report of one of those. Apparently, they're alive, not maybe rare, but they're alive in North America and the United States. I've received more than one report, received two of them, and it's not my specialty. I don't write books about living dinosaurs, but yeah, it's fascinating. What a world we live in. What a wonderful world. And then Nathan says you should make a video on dinosaur reports or other cryptids that you receive. Well, I did make a week ago. 1 week ago, I did a live stream, and there was good participation. Maybe some of you here were there a week ago, and it was dinosaurs, carbon dating dinosaurs. They really lived more recently than most people were aware, much more recently. I was thinking the same exact thing, Nathan. I'll do a video. Oh, cool. And Nathan says you should interview more people with Zoom meeting and publish those on YouTube. That's a good point. I hadn't thought about that. I can do that kind of interview. That's Zoom meetings. I do have used Zoom before. Yeah, that's cool. And I'm sure there's a way I can find it to record that. I know I can. I just have to look into it. Yeah, Territorialness, yeah. And wild gauge. Shanna said she was lagging behind when the pterosaur flew by. Wonder if Ropen seek out stragglers. Oh dear. I think I better say this, but we have to get in more detail. Yeah, missing persons sometimes indicate that they were separated from a group. They were absolutely alone when they went missing. I'm afraid some of these are from pterosaur attacks. I'm afraid. I wish it were otherwise, but I'm afraid some of them are. And when a person is alone, that the person is attacked. That's unfortunate. But it looks like that's the way it is in North America in general. Unfortunately. Jessica Carbati. Thank you, Jessica, for joining us. We're going to continue on a little longer here. So Velociraptor, what sizes were they? I'm not really well prepared for this because just a few weeks ago I saw the side one where it was not small. I mean, it might have been small, but I get confused with the other one because somebody else reported one before. And that other one was fairly large. It was like at least 4 or 5 feet tall. But I don't recall the more recent one. I'm sorry. I get confused because I have the different sightings of reports I've talked about, and it's not my specialty, so I don't think about it and read about it all the time. But I can look into that if you're interested in modern velociraptors still living in North America. I mean, we could get into some of that sometime. Yeah, it would be good, Nicole, if we can chat with the Zoom sometime. And with the Zoom, we can get more attention. People can be more apt to be open to this rather than just me standing in front of the camera or sitting in front of the camera and just telling things, you know. And some people says, oh, I don't believe Whitcomb. Oh, no. But if there's somebody else, well, it does help. It's not just me, really. If I were dishonest, I would say that I've seen a pterodactyl, but no, I'm honest. I can't really say that. Jessica, I believe that many dinos were brought to eat by humans, hunting them for food and popularity. Yeah, I believe too. Yeah, that did happen in the past. Absolutely, I have no doubt. Uncanny Valley, yeah, seems to be theropods of some kind in the southern part of North America, and it is a huge environment. Oh boy, yeah. It's a big world, a big continent. And Jessica says, sir, I would love for you to make a video which gives details about the recent sightings of dinos or pterosaurs. Well, that's what I've been doing, yeah, for 2 years, making videos about almost all the pterosaurs. And last week was dinosaurs. But we now have, this is video number 149 on this channel. I have another channel too that has pterosaur sightings. It's with my name, Jonathan Whitcomb, or Jonathan D. Whitcomb. Don't remember how that channel is named, but that's an older channel. But yeah, come back to this channel and keep watching. There's so many videos here. But I will definitely keep making them, of course. Let's see, Jessica. Oh, no, it's Uncanny Valley, not human-sized, miniature versions, which is more accurate to what most velociraptor worlds. However, the Jurassic Park version can be found in the Utah raptor, emphasis on the Utah. Yeah, it's not my specialty, but we can get into velociraptors if you like sometime. Yes, sir, please do make a time to look into it. Yeah, we should. But it'd probably be a side note to our discussions about pterosaurs, flying creatures, because we have a lot more material to work with, and it is my specialty. So, but yeah, we can do sidelines in a particular video. Yeah, Whitegate says video interviews have a lot more impact. I think they do. The phone interviews do too. Yeah. Jessica, many people still believe that 65 million years theory still. Yeah, I know. It is so popular. It keeps getting repeated over and over and over and over. 65 million years. 65 million. Oh, goodness. You ever hear anybody explain exactly why they got that number the way they did? No, because they just repeating the number. Okay, very well. What if 411 was partly or wholly from pterosaurs? That's a thought. Well, yeah, I have 2 books right here. I don't see them on my shelf right at the moment. I put them in another part of my... Oh, no, I do. I'm looking at them right now. 2 books on missing 411. I have 2 of the older ones. There are others that are besides those 2. But yeah, we can get into that too. But I will say just briefly, not every report in one of those books really suggests to me that it was a pterosaur that was responsible for that. But a lot of them could have been, and some of them are really look like they were. I'm afraid, and that's why I have those on my bookshelf here, and we should get to that. And let me write this down. Let me write it down. The 411 missing persons. We should have a whole video just on that, because there are some really important things we need to go, and it is important for human safety. People need to know. 411 videos, lots of strange similarities in the cases. Oh yeah, this is a lot. We might need to make more than one video on 411 missing persons. Probably more than one video. Give it some... I need to do some study and preparations, and we need to get into this, I think. Okay, Jessica, I sub to you now. Thanks for making this video. Well, thank you, Jessica, for subscribing. And of course, I'm only asking for subscribers if they really want to watch the videos, of course. It doesn't really do anything to just subscribe and then not come back and not watch the videos. If you want to come back and watch videos, wonderful. I would be delighted if you become an official subscriber. I would be delighted. Thank you so much. And yeah, keep coming back and watch the videos. And then it helps everything. Yeah, no doubt some are the likes of Bigfoot and Dogmen, but large pterosaurs would be a very good candidate. Yeah. Yeah, it's complicated. I don't want to make a dogmatic stand saying all these cases, even though there's some similarities, it doesn't necessarily mean that every single one has precisely the same cause. That would be dogmatic. We just need to keep an open mind, but recognize that there's a lot of things that kind of go together and seem to be a lot similar too. And Shanna says, yes, I've wondered that with the kids that go missing in these unsolved cases, yes, unfortunately, I'm afraid, pretty certain some of them are from large pterosaur attacks. Strange that it may sound and so weird to some people, saying, how is it possible? You know, pterodactyls don't even exist for millions of years, and yet you say they're carrying away children. Yeah, and I can explain that. I can tell you the cases I've received just in the last few months. Yeah, you need to know. We need to talk about this. Okay, here in the UK, if I say dinosaurs are still alive, everybody would think I'm crazy. It's now, Jessica, it's not just in the UK. It's in many countries of the world. Australia, United States, not just UK. It's, if you're in Papua New Guinea, then if you go to a major city and go to the newspaper, say you saw a pterodactyl, they will tell you you're crazy. But if you go to the people in the remote areas, the jungles and the villages that are more away from the cities, there's nothing strange about saying you saw one of those. They say, well, yeah, we have somebody over here that saw one too. And they just accept it as part of their natural environment. Okay, Jessica, do you think that mosasaurs could be alive too, but down deep in the ocean? It's an interesting question. It's not my specialty, but it's an interesting question. Certainly they could. I mean, I have to look into it though to learn more about that. And Whitegate just say, I've come across many modern reports of dinosaur sightings. No one can dispute that, at least. And that's why I like, if we're having a long-tailed pterodactyl report, I like to call it a Ropen. And I'm encouraging people to do that. We probably should use that word more. If the pterodactyl we call pterodactyl, and that's fine, modern dragon, whatever, if it had a long tail and no feathers and was, so on, we don't say pterodactyl. We don't have to say it. I mean, we could say Ropen, R-O-P-E-N. It's like rope with an N or open with an R at the beginning. Of course, a Google search will mess it up. So I recommend DuckDuckGo, that search engine, or some other search engine, not Google, if you're looking for things about living pterosaurs or the Ropen or modern pterodactyls, because they just are messed up. Google is messed up in that regard, really messed up for some reason. Okay, in Uncanny Valley, I also came across a report of someone finding a baby plesiosaur or mosasaur at the beach in Turkey. Well, that's interesting. Tabitha Kersey, thank you for joining us, Tabitha. The Julius sound sources was allegedly photographed by a satellite. The shadowy form in the water looked like a massive snake. Don't know. In Kenny Valley, there are also the one that swam up the Thames twice. I remember something about that. It sounds familiar. I caught it a while ago. If I'm thinking of the same one, Jessica, Uncanny, that's very interesting to know mosasaurs are still alive, or other one. Yeah. And Jessica, if you want to contact me sometime, or if you already have contacted me, that's fine. But I'd be curious to know what your name is, if you have reported something to me before, so I know that and relate it to what you're talking about here. But maybe you haven't. I have a number of people in the UK, for example, who have reported me living pterosaurs, and I don't know what their names are on YouTube. Uncanny Valley, how big was it? Static X. Jessica, Do you think that governments would tell us if they found any dinosaurs alive? Well, I don't know. It's not my specialty. I don't really get into speculating about conspiracy theories or anything like that. I don't really get into it. Not usually, anyway. There may be virtual conspiracies which appear like, practically the same thing because of many people in official positions in the universities and so on, especially if they all just start thinking the same and just start doing things the same and talking the same and writing the same, then it will kind of be like a virtual conspiracy, even though it's not technically necessarily a conspiracy with people agreeing to certain things that they do together. Static X, approximately 10 feet or taller. The wingspan was enormous. Yeah, some of them do get that size. I guarantee they do get that size. It's not common, but when one of them grows for a long time, grows to be that big, and it could be over 30 feet in wingspan, it does happen. You can't miss it if it's in daytime and they're flying. You can't miss it, and you'll notice it. But if it's a smaller one, that's like bird size, you will not even look at it because you just assume that a bird is flying by and you won't even look. Why should you look at a bird flying? Because there are more of them that are smaller, but they're just not noticed so much, the small ones. So it's in the UK. Yeah, okay. I would love to see a living pterosaur in the UK. Some people have. We can talk about that sometime. How big they most likely to be. They come in many different sizes, and it's hard to estimate when they're flying because you don't know how big it is. How can you tell? It's hard to estimate size, but people do estimate it anyway, and I make a record of it and learn whatever I can from it. And there are certain things I have been able to learn that are important, but not as much about the size of the animals as about the eyewitnesses. And that's a long story. We'll get into that. But we can have a video about UK sightings. We have enough of them that we can have at least a part of a video about sightings of apparent modern pterosaurs in England, for example. That's basically where we usually get them. In the UK is central England. Well, sometimes southern England, or maybe England. Q Dingo, thank you for joining us. Hey, thank you for everyone for the great turnout. Those of us who are eyewitnesses receive great comfort from your support. A good point, Q Dingo. Yeah, thank you so much for the positive response and interest of so many of you who made comments on these live streams, Friday afternoon, Friday evening live streams on this channel. It's wonderful support, and we really need that. Anything I can do to help, just get the word out. If you know somebody that's just positive, that talks positive and thinks positive, send them here. We want them here. Positive people. Nicole says, thank you, guys. My bird had a tail. Yeah, that, in other words, that was a Ropen. Yeah, Ropens are the most common type of modern pterosaur that are seen worldwide, and this is anywhere in the world. You go basically, the long tails outnumber the short tail, no tail, the other ones that don't have long tails. Weird as that may sound to some people, that's the way the world is today. That's the way it is. In Uncanny Valley, Static X, or 40-foot wingspan approximately. Jessica says, what color are they? I heard them that they mostly like to be gray. Somewhat, and there's a variety. I have to get some research on this to get the statistics, to get more details on that. It's going to take a while. Ooh, I have so much to put on the database. Ooh, it's going to take some time. But there's different things I've heard about coloration. It's more variety in descriptions of color than I have gotten from descriptions like long tail and that kind of thing. There may be certain obvious reasons for that, but yeah, good question. Yes, as an eyewitness, I get comfort out of others' sightings. Yeah, And we can get a lot of sightings here on these live streams. And also the comments on the other videos. Be aware that a lot of people are making comments on these 148 other videos besides tonight's. And they'll often mention their own sighting, what they saw. And sometimes it'd be just very brief. Sometimes it'll be more. Sometimes it'll be a lot. I love those. Oh, I put them in my reports and make them official. I love those reports. Jessica, so I would love it if you could travel to UK and give a seminar or some kind of living dinosaurs. Oh, Jessica, I was so much like to go back. I haven't been to England since 1972. That's Central England is the homeland of my ancestors. It's my ancestral homeland. Oh, I'd so like to go back again. I told my wife, oh, I want to take you to England. You got to see England. Oh, boy. Nicole, Static X, I am terrible with giving how big the wingspan by numbers. Sure, especially at night. How can you estimate? But it was huge, wasn't it, Nicole? But my bird's wingspan went beyond a two-lane road. Yeah, that's the point. It flew over the road and it was flying low, and you could tell from that, flying low over the road, that the wingspan was wider than the two-lane road. That's the point. It was not a heron. It was not a misidentified bird. No, they don't get that big. No, they don't get nearly that big. And there's other things too, of course. Static X, it was about 11 a.m. in the woods. I came across it in the bottom of a feeder pond dam. And the runoff had made a small pond this thing was standing in. I looked up, saw it. Its back was to me. Wow. Cool, Static X. Thank you for telling that to all of us here. Even if you told it before, you can tell it again. Because there's new people that have never heard your sighting, you know. You told a sighting report on a previous live stream video. You can tell it again. No problem. Wide gauge, can any witnesses draw their sighting, or maybe just a portion like a head or wing, just planting ideas here? Yeah, wide gauge, look at these here, okay? This was an eyewitness sighting report from 1971 at Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, by the U.S. Marine Eskin Kun. And I've written to him in books, blog posts, and videos. Eskin Kun saw these two flying creatures at low elevation, like close just above the water, I guess, or the beach there, where the coast is. Low elevation and close range. It was close. He watched them until they flew away, so he could remember them well enough that he could sketch them afterwards. He drew this sketch. Now look at this one. Guess where this one was? The bigger one here. This one here. The darker brown color. That one was also at Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, but it was a few years earlier, in 1965. This was drawn by the eyewitness, Patty Carson. Notice similarities. Yeah, I think it was the same species at Guantanamo Bay, a few years apart. I would be very surprised if it was a different species. No, it's the same kind of Ropen. I call this the American hammerhead Ropen, and we have sightings in other parts of the United States. Various parts. This was in Cuba, which is close to southern United States and Florida. But when it has that kind of curve with the head crest and going toward the beak, that's an American hammerhead Ropen. Okay, get back to the chat. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so you do what? England. Love to meet you both. Sir, do bring your wife to England. I would love to meet you both. Absolutely, Jessica, I wish. It's possible. You know, the way things are going, we're being successful with this channel, and we might be in a position sometime where I could take my wife to England. It's possible. Sure would like to. Oh, it's been so long since I've been there. And I'd like to meet the eyewitnesses too, of course. And Nicole said mine was huge. Yeah. but it looked like just like the bird that military guys drew that you showed. You know, the military guy, the two pterodactyls, the two ones together, are flying together. Let's look at it again. Two together, is that it, Nicole? Yeah, it's American hammerhead ropen. I have no doubt the same species as was seen by Patty Carson a few years earlier. And I need to remember that. Okay, Nicole's looked like the two that were seen by Eskin Kuhn, the U.S. Marine. I have to remember that. Okay, I have to remember. Eskin Kuhn and Nicole. Okay, they saw the same, probably the same species. Yeah. Yeah, that's the bird. Oh, cool. That's the same species. That'd be American hammerhead ropen. You saw an American hammerhead ropen. That's what I call it anyway. I invented the name, so I can do what I want to do. So whatever. That's about 20. Static X, I was about 20 feet from it. I have no doubt, and I remember the details. Yeah. Nicole, so I could describe it to a T. Static X. I gave my email above if anyone wants to contact me about the subject. Okay. And Jessica, also, where would a good place to find these dinosaurs or pterosaurs? Well, that's a challenge, Jessica, because they're not common, nothing remotely like common. They're uncommon or rare, and they're generally nocturnal, and they travel so much. They seem to be capable, at least, of traveling long distances. You never know where one's going to be. If you have a sighting on Tuesday, somebody reports it to you or me, says they saw one at this particular place, you know, in the exact location. 2 days later on Thursday, it could be 200 miles away. Who knows? Maybe 500 miles away. Who knows? Anyway, it's a challenge. It helps knowing that I'm not the only person. Yeah, Static X, you're not alone. You're not alone. It's the telling somebody you saw a Bigfoot. Yeah, I like the Bigfoot sightings. It helps me as well. Yeah, Nicole, glad you're joined us here. You're part of the community now, Nicole. You're part of this community. And we support each other and we listen to each other. This is wonderful, wonderful. I think if you're both able to email a photo or picture drawn by you, John can add it to his resources. Sure. And we can see what you saw. Yeah, absolutely. I'll accept that and put it on the record if you like. I should ask people to do that more often, but most people don't have much skill with drawing and sketching. But it helps if they find a sketch. They say it does look like that. That's great. Yeah. Great, Nicole. Thank you. Q Dingo, I have a suspicion that many animals that have an uncanny resemblance to dinosaurs actually are dinosaurs. Yeah. Just smaller. After all, many known animals have gotten smaller. Well, that's a deep subject. It can go either way, I believe, I suppose. Depends on the situation, you know, the individual situation of a species. And Fernando, organizing a group to analyze sightings, go to the most frequent places and take equipment for recordings and drones. Well, absolutely, and that's what we're planning on doing. I already have a drone. I'm looking at it right now. I haven't used it yet. But we will definitely get an organization, a nonprofit organization. And here is the name of Animal Discovery up on the upper left here. Animal Discovery. And it's not officially organized yet, so don't send me any money, whatever you do. Don't send me money yet. It's still too early. But it will be, Animal Discovery will be the nonprofit. And we will do things like that and support expeditions. And the Congo, Ilya, thank you for coming back, Ilya. Thank you for getting back with this. Yeah, there have been sightings or reports of some type in Central Africa. Just how much dangerous would they be if one tried to go too close to them? Yeah, I recommend people don't go too close to them. You don't really know a particular animal, you know. This goes for other species too. You don't know a particular animal. You just see it. You have to be really use common sense. Be careful. And Static X, we both startled each other. The thing took off and disappeared into the trees like it was never there. Very silent. Oh, thank you, Static X. Clifford Jones Sr., I would suggest, thank you for joining us, Clifford. I would suggest that those in chat who have had sightings would produce graphic or drawings of what they saw and send them to Jonathan so he can share them with the rest of us. Absolutely. Somebody just mentioned that a little while ago. Yeah, sure. Send me sketches if you can draw a sketch. Or yeah, absolutely. I would love to have sketches. Yeah, and I can put them on these chats. And dinos were all sizes. We're just seeing remnants of species that were able to survive all the different events since. In New Zealand, we have the tuatara, which predates dinosaurs. Yeah, that's a deep subject. Uncanny Valley, so you did see it take off and you were looking down at it, static? Nicole says, static, mine was silent as well. Did not seem to want to eat me, laughing loud. Seemed to just be curious. Yeah. Norway. Oh, Static X, you're in Norway? Whoa. Let me make a note of this. Static X is in Norway? Am I reading that right? I have trouble reading this off the screen. I promise not to laugh at my drawing. Laughing out loud. Yeah, why did I was looking at a witness that raised behind me, spread its wings at the same time. And Nicole, I'm so honored to be a part of this. You have no idea. It sucks being called crazy and made fun of because you saw this. Yeah, that's true, Nicole. I understand absolutely. It's what is through. People's minds are too small sometimes. Yeah, that's true. And I've been there, done that. I've had a small mind myself. We can go into that when I was young and didn't believe in these flying creatures. I've repented. I'm changed. I know now. Now I'm old enough to know. Okay. Flapper wants to get into the air, however. Yeah. Nicole, it's so cool you saw it standing. Jessica, I want someone to film or capture a dinosaur pterosaur. Yeah, we have to have videos. We need good video footage. And that will be coming. We will have that. Yeah. Uncanny Valley seems you should watch some episodes of Dogman encounters, mainly because you will hear them explain how much it helps to just be able to share their experiences. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I believe it. People need to communicate. Yeah. And Nicole says, thanks, Static X. I never heard of Dogman encounters before. Now, Static X, are you in Norway? Did I read that right? No, Norway was a typo. Oh, it was a typo. No, Norway was a typo. Oh, okay. Because I've never received a report from Norway yet. Some indirect things, but but not a direct sighting report yet. So do you think that the pterosaurs can be tamed like we tame hawks and eagles and others? Well, yeah, be my guest. I don't know if I want to try it myself, but I think it's possible if they're very young, they're intelligent, and I think generally animals can be tamed under the right conditions when they're not, when they're born in captivity or hatched in captivity. It makes a difference. I don't know why not, but some of them, on the other hand, I've known from personal experience, sometimes kinds of crocodilians like caimans, taming them is not that easy with caimans, which are related to crocodiles and alligators. I've tried it. It doesn't work very well with them. I'm in Oklahoma. Static X is in Oklahoma. Okay, let me make a note. It's Oklahoma. I'm gonna mess up that. Oklahoma. Yeah, very good. And Static X, we need to get into the subject of this particular sighting too, again, about this little girl in western Oklahoma who was attacked, almost caught and carried away by a pterosaur many years ago in western Oklahoma. We need to get into that. Okay. Tuatara evolved before the dinosaurs did. Well, yeah. I'm not going to get into evolution. Okay. West, yes, but they are tiny lizards. Yeah, west. That's a nobody would really cares about seeing a Tuatara, nothing special. Well, people know about them, of course, that they're classified. Yeah. Sorry, that what was it was Nora, yes, they're tiny lizards. Okay. Actually do people keep Tuataras as pets? Yeah, I know that. Some of them do. Interesting pets, huh? Q Dingo Jessica, there is an Braille stone with a warrior riding a pterosaur. Wow, we can do something on that sometime. But we have a lot to go on now, and I have to wrap this up pretty soon. So we've been over 2 hours here, have we? Wow, how time flies. Thank you all for joining us. This is just wonderful. We'll get back and we'll have some of these other subjects covered. Everyone, please come back. I'm just delighted you've all been here and had such a good discussions. We'll have a good week, a good weekend, a good week, and come back and join us together and bring your friends and recommend people. If you want to watch more videos, just subscribe and watch the videos. That's super. They were extremely successful the last few days. My channel has just taken off, and it's just, wow, amazing. My wife and I are amazed at how much success we have in the last few days with this YouTube channel and these videos. Thank you so much. God bless and take care. And we will meet again soon, I hope. 1 week, I hope. And so it's